Hi. Hi, Anne. Hello.
Really, we're not going anywhere.
Hi, Coletta. We've got about 3 minutes before we get started. If this is your first time coming to a yin class, or maybe just this yin class, I realize that not everyone has all of the official props, and I don't really either. So I have my foam roller, I have 2 yoga blocks, as many yoga blocks as you have them with you. I've got 2 blankets, this one and this one. And that's all that I have, although one good option is if you have an extra yoga mat to roll it up, and this can be used as a prop as well. And then I just have my socks to the side because yin is a very cooling practice and sometimes you can get chilly. Hi, Damien. Yeah, Ruby, oh God. I'm hoping she doesn't bark during class because generally she will bark when people are walking by our house. And since, I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but since our quarantining, so many more people are walking on the streets. And so she's been like super obnoxious. So anyway, might spice up our yin yoga practice today. At least no one will fall asleep if Ruby keeps barking. So we've got about 1 minute. If you were already here in class, go ahead and just take a seat on your bolster or blanket, whatever you have for your prop. Just go ahead and take a seat with crossed legs. All right, so it's 4 o'clock, so we will get started. Yin Yoga is a cooling practice. It is going to be comprised of passive yoga poses only. And so what that means is that it's poses that we can completely relax into. Whereas, you know, if you were in like Warrior 1 and you relax, you would fall over, right? So these are all poses that rely on gravity and the weight of our own bodies. So it's a 90-minute class. Last week it was 60 minutes, but we're going to push it to 90. And obviously the beauty of the virtual, if you need to get up and use the bathroom, you can. If you need to leave early, that's fine, obviously, as well. Now, most of you did see that I posted the yoga sequence, all the poses with photos I think yesterday I posted it, and I'll continue to do that. So if you didn't see that, or you're new to the group or whatever, just be aware on the feed of Soul Sisters Worldwide Facebook page or the group, I will post the poses in advance, because I just realized teaching last week it was a little bit difficult to coach, because you guys can only see me from one perspective. So I thought that would be helpful, and I received pretty positive feedback about that, so I will continue to do that. So enough lecturing. I'm going to have you close your eyes, and we'll just take a moment to center. And just begin focusing on your breath. The breath will become an important tool to us as we move through the next 90 minutes of poses. And objectively tuning in, noticing the quality of the breath. What does it sound like? What does it feel like in your body? Just beginning the process of moving inward. And we don't need to be comfortable in this silence. It might be uncomfortable, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you if you feel like you're not enjoying the silence and the stillness. That's totally normal. And you can open your eyes, and we'll get into our first pose, which is going to be fish. So if you have blocks, you're going to use them. If you have a roller, the roller can be used as well. You just want to make sure that the spine, your mid-spine about underneath your shoulder blades, is going to come up against the edge of your block, and that your head is also supported. And again, take your time getting into this. The soles of your feet will be together. The closer they are to you, the more intense the stretch. The farther away they are, the stretch will be a little less intense. So before you lie down, you can also decide, if you have enough props, maybe having the knees just hanging out, that doesn't work for you. And it can be really comforting to have support under the knees. So I am going to just bring my blankets right underneath my thighs. And then slowly reclining onto your blocks, making any final adjustments. And once you are done with your adjustments, just arms resting by your sides, palms up. And when you hear the bell, which hopefully you can hear, it'll be 3 minutes in this posture. as we did last week, we'll be naming the koshas, or the layers of self that you're experiencing while you are in the pose. Most of us will always begin by noticing the first layer, the Annamaya kosha, which is the physical experience, so the physical sensations that are coming up for you. Taking the time to acknowledge those messages that the brain is getting from the muscles and from the tendons. And once that acknowledgement is made, moving to a deeper layer, the pranamaya, which is the breath. The breath that anchors us in the present moment. Trying not to let any breath go by unnoticed, just following the breath in and out. And if your mind has strayed, just refocus on the breath. Slowly rising from your fish pose. We'll be moving to banana. Sounds like fun. So I'm going to show you from this perspective because I just think it'd be easier for you. And if you have the guide in front of you, then you kind of know what this looks like. So we're going to take our right leg, and it's going to look opposite to you, but your right leg is going to cross over. You're going to lie down, and then you're going to create this kind of C curve in the body. The arms can come over your head, and then just relaxing through the arms and keeping the ankles crossed. We'll be here for 3 minutes, and then we'll switch sides. When you hear the bell, you know that the 3 minutes has begun. Beautiful. Acknowledging the physical sensations that initially are brought to your attention. Releasing any gripping that you may have through the leg. Or if you're like gripping your wrists together, let go. Just let your arms kind of fall where they may, over your head or even by your sides. Releasing all efforts and control. Moving into pranamaya, the breath. your mind has wandered, gently bring it back to the breath. And you'll simply switch sides, recrossing the ankle on the other side and reversing the C curve. And when you hear the bell, you'll know 3 minutes has begun. Allowing your body to speak to you, acknowledging what it has to say. And then moving deeper to the breath. In your mind's eye, imagining where the breath is easily flowing into your body. Can it flow freely all the way down to your toes? Into your fingertips? And where might it be blocked? Where does it feel tight or restricted? If your mind has wandered, gently draw your attention back to your breath. Beautiful. All right. And you'll slowly press up into seated position. We'll be coming into butterfly next. please sit up onto something and really feel your sitting bones. Now, it is completely up to you what your butterfly looks like. You can have your feet way out in front of you, or you can have them closer to you, okay? Whatever feels right, but what we do need, if you have it, please, is somewhere to rest our head. So if you have blocks, and you'll have to adjust the height, and you might adjust it a few times as we move through the pose. So you can either have the block on the other side of your toes, resting, or if you have a bit of a longer butterfly, then it can be on the inside of your heels. Okay, so just whatever works for you. About 15 seconds until the 3 minutes begins. And again, if you want to put anything, if you have enough props to get under the knees, please do that. Acknowledging the initial wave of sensation as your body settles into this new shape. Moving more deeply into the breath. And as the physical postures become slightly more intense, you may notice the third layer, or kosha. The Manamaya kosha is where our emotional and mental mind-body layer subsides, and you might notice some emotions coming up. As you work to focus on the breath, emotions might bubble up into the surface. And that's not a bad thing. This is a very beautiful way to really learn about what is going on in our inner world. Everything is so external all the time, always living outside of ourselves. And it's this fascinating inner world that we have that we generally do not acknowledge enough. Slowly rising. And next we'll be coming into dragon. And if you know where you're going, then please feel free to settle into the pose. But of course I will show you where you're headed. a tabletop position. One leg will come forward. I'm gonna knock my water over. Hands are to the inside of the front foot, and the back knee is very long. Now, if you have a sensitive knee, then please put a blanket underneath your knee, something soft. And from here, we're going to lower down using our props. And then if you have something else that you can rest your head in, I don't really have anything, but I guess I can kind of go like this. And you'll be here. This knee can fall out to the side as much as it needs to, right? Because we're trying to release any effort within the muscles, okay? So just relax all the muscles that will allow it. Ten seconds until the 3 minutes begins. As the initial wave of physical sensation arrives, be curious. There's no good or bad. Try not to qualify what you're feeling. And can you focus your attention on the breath? And not getting frustrated when the physical sensations distract you, simply using it as practice to return to the breath. And you'll begin to strengthen that inner muscle that allows you to focus on the breath and drop into the present moment. And as you gently press the upper body up, bringing that leg back into tabletop, you can take a moment in child's pose, just a few breaths. And then coming into position on second side. And you might need a different height depending on what side you're on, okay? So don't expect each side to be exactly the same. So maybe your blocks need to be quite a bit higher. Totally fine. Beginning to find stillness in the pose. Making any last adjustments. Our yin practice is shaped around surrender and yielding and acceptance of what is. So you may have this urge to come out of the pose, and that truly is a signal that there is productive work to be done. That's when the practice truly begins. You can feel yourself moving through these layers of experience as the time goes by in these poses. Things are not stagnant. They are changing moment to moment, and you can feel that in your body. One muscle might loosen and you might soften, and then immediately another muscle group might come up into your mind, needing attention, asking for attention. And can you just be here, be with yourself, knowing that you're safe and supported, trusting that this will pass. Refocusing on the breath. Taking a moment to transition. If you need to be in child's pose for a few breaths, that's fine. We'll slowly begin to transition into frog. So frog is going to get deeply into our inner thighs. So I'm trying to think of a good angle. I guess this is a pretty good angle. So I do recommend if you have a blanket, even if you have a mat as well, a blanket is going to be really helpful because it can get a little bit intense for the inside of the knees. So we'll start in a, I'm going to bring all my props with me, in a tabletop position. And we're going to slowly walk the knees away from one another. And as you walk the knees away, there's two options. Okay, so you can have your toes together, okay? And if you are very tight, then that is a really great option. I'm going to bring my rolled up roller and my blanket. How many things can I get here? So I can completely rest. Now, if you would like to take your frog to a different place, then see how my toes are together. I'm going to bring my ankles in line with my knees, okay? So you can see it's from here or here. So this is a little bit easier. The toes together is a little bit easier than the heels being in line with the knees, okay? So you decide. And you can always change it in the middle if you need to. And then you can bring down something to support your upper body, okay? So you can lie down as you're here. The higher up you are supported, the less sensation that you will get. If you want to get a very deep sensation, then you will not use anything and you'll just rest your head on the ground. Okay, so totally up to you, many, many options. So wherever you are, settle in. And this isn't the end all be all, you will do yin again. So if you want to do something different next time, that's fine. But just acknowledging the physical response of the body. Moving into the breath. Breathing into places of tension or gripping. Imagining the breath being able to flow completely freely through your entire body. Noticing any resistance. And seeing if you can just let go and ride the wave of sensation that you're feeling, trusting that you're going to come out safely on the other side. You have less than 1 minute. Gently beginning to press through your arms, lifting the upper body, bringing the knees together. If you want to take a few breaths in child's pose, or just come into a seated position for a moment. Next, we'll transition into what in Yin is called sleeping swan, but it is more widely known as pigeon. So again, if you have a blanket, it is really nice to have that extra softness and cushion underneath you. Now I'm going to use my rolled up mat, but you can certainly use a blanket as well, or even a pillow. What we're trying to do, if you have the blanket, it'll be perpendicular on your mat. One leg is going to come in front. And then you're using whatever it is, the rolled up blanket, the roller, the rolled up mat, to come across the pelvis. So that most of us, when we do pigeon, we're not able to be flush on the floor, and we don't want to be hanging out. Yin requires groundedness and a feeling of being connected to the earth. So we really want to have a point of contact always to feel supported, right? So from there you will come down. Again, if that's too much, you can have a block. You can rest your chest and then your head. So really just coming into a position where you feel the most amount of support. Beginning to find stillness as you make any final adjustments. gripping, afraid to let go. Gently reassure by breathing into that area. Gently giving the permission to stop fighting and surrender. If emotions bubble to the surface, become curious. What's trying to grab your attention? What part of you feels like it has something important to say that maybe during our normal day we are not open to? That part doesn't have a chance to speak up. And in this stillness, it finds this opportunity. Acknowledge the message and then return to the breath. Gently pressing up through the upper body and taking about 1 minute to settle into second side. Making any final adjustments. through practicing being with our physical and emotional, mental sensations, thoughts, we slowly can become the watcher, the seer, the observer. Where we have emotions, we are not the emotion. We have pain. We are not pain. Moving through the koshas to the center, the Atman, the true self. Using the breath to create space and softness. Knowing that whatever is coming up for you is exactly how it should be. No right, no wrong, no good or bad. Feel yourself sinking towards the center of the earth. Moving through the layers, deeper and deeper. Taking a moment to come back to your seated position. We'll be coming into caterpillar or forward fold next. You'll be sitting up on something so that your seat is lifted. The tighter your hamstrings are, the higher up you want your seat to be, okay? Now you do not need to have straight legs for your forward fold. You can put something under your knees. It can be very comfortable. And then we want something to be there to rest our head on. And as you move through the 3 minutes, you might find that you can remove your blocks. Okay, maybe not, and that's fine too. So just finding the right forward fold position for you. Putting in place as much support as you need. Making any final adjustments. Bringing your attention to the breath. If your mind has wandered, gently return to the breath. Using your hands to press back up into an upright position. And next we'll be coming into shoelace. So we want to be propped up. Again, the tighter your hips, the higher up you want your seat to be. So there's several versions of shoelace. You can have the broken shoelace, which literally just looks like this, where one foot is one knee's more bent, just like that. And then you would come forward using props. I'm going to sit on my blanket so I don't fall off this. So this is broken shoelace. Here. If you'd like a little more, then we're going to cross like so. So this is fire log technically. And then again, you would come forward to here. Next would be really stacking your fire logs so that your ankle is directly on your thigh, right? And then this heel's underneath the knee. And then you can stay upright from here or forward fold. And then finally, the full shoelace. You're going to stack the knees one on top of the other, the heels out to the side laterally. If you are here, try to keep equal weight in the sitting bones. You can just stay upright for this. Totally fine. You can slowly begin to come forward if you would like, resting your head on something, okay? So lots of options to get into the hips. Full shoelace, fire log, just a crisscross, and then the broken shoelace, okay? Making any final adjustments. This one I can actually do with you. just slowly unwind. If you want to take a second to just straighten out the leg and just give a little bit of a shake. And we'll come into second side. Try to get equal weight on both of the sitting bones, best that you can. And wherever you are, you can choose to stay upright or bowing. Just make sure you have something for underneath your head. Making any final adjustments. Keeping the breath flowing in and out. Unwinding, stretching the legs out in front. Little shake. And next we'll be coming into puppy. Again, several variations of puppy pose. So in our puppy pose, it's very similar. It's kind of between a down dog and a child's pose. But basically, our hips want to stay directly over the knees. And we're going to stretch out the upper body, resting your forehead on the floor, like so. Now, if you would like to try a little bit of a more intense variation to get into the shoulders, if you have blocks, you're going to place your elbows on top of the blocks You can tent your fingertips and then move into your puppy. And then from here, if you like, you don't have to, pressing the palms together and then being here. I would recommend having your elbows elevated because it's just easier to completely relax the body. This is one of those in-between poses where you do have to have a little bit of muscular engagement. Again, you can use your roller for this as well. Your forehead might not touch the floor completely, but that's okay. So just play around with it. I'll give you about 30 seconds. And if none of these really work for you, or you have like a shoulder injury or something like that, you can just do a child's pose, right? Without the arms over the head. Totally fine. So just a few more seconds to settle in. About 30 seconds remaining. Slowly coming out of puppy. Ruby must have heard
The word puppy.
because she's come to say hello. Take a moment. You can clasp your hands behind, do a little stretch. Take your time. We're going to be coming into supported bridge. If you do have something for like a strap or something to tie around the knees, like I have like my band here. It's not required, so don't worry about it, but if you have one, have it nearby. Supported bridge either blocks or a blanket underneath your pelvis. I'm going to show you what that looks like. If you have something like a band or a belt or something like that, you're just going to tie your knees together so that the knees are in line with the hips. So you're not tying them so that your inner thighs are touching. You want to tie them in a neutral position just so they're not going to fall out to the side. That's just going to allow you to be a little bit more relaxed in the pose. If you don't have this, it's okay. It just means that you're going to have to put a little effort into not letting the knees fall out to the sides. Pressing up through the hips. Now, if you have a block, you can have it low, medium, or on its highest setting. Just make sure it is underneath your sacrum, your pelvis, not under the lumbar spine, okay? So I'm resting my pelvis on this block, okay? And my low back from, my tail through my lumbar spine is completely free. Once you're here, palms down by your sides, palms up, slight tuck to the chin, lengthening through the neck, and hold here. So just making any final adjustments. Again, you can use a blanket if you have a roller that can go underneath, okay, to support you. Feeling the weight of the pelvis heavy on your block or blanket. Pressing evenly through your feet to lift your hips and remove whatever is underneath your pelvis, slowly lowering down one vertebrae at a time till your pelvis touches the floor. If you had something around your knees, you can take it off. And we're coming into cattail next, which is a supine twist. So I hope you guys can see me okay for this one. So here's what it's going to look like. We'll do it from this side. So we're going to bring one knee across the body. If your knee is hovering, then I recommend having a prop, blanket, block, whatever, to put underneath it. And the right arm or that opposite arm will just reach out to the side. Now, if it's available to you, you're going to bend the bottom knee and hold on to your foot. So that's your option. Now another thing that can be really nice is to have your head supported. So maybe if you were watching, you can see my head is kind of like hanging out, which is not comfortable, right? I'm trying to support myself. I want to be connected to the ground, okay, for that groundedness. So that's a lot nicer. And then I'll be here and I gaze over my shoulder. Similarly, if you have enough props, you could put something underneath your shoulder blade as well. Now, if that's just not an option for you, you don't have to grab onto, you do not have to grab onto or bend that bottom leg. You can just be in a supine twist, which is totally fine, okay? So about 20 seconds to make any adjustments needed. These will be 2-minute holds on each side. If you have hold of that ankle, release, slowly moving towards center and setting up on second side. Making any final adjustments. Moving back through center. And before going into Shavasana, we'll take just a few breaths in Happy Baby. So toes together, knees wide. You're going to grab onto the outer edges of your feet and then bring your heels right over the knees, pulling the knees down wide to the outside of your rib cage, tailbone and head on the floor. You can rock side to side. Taking a few deep breaths. Then we'll lengthen out the legs. Palms down by your sides. And we'll be still in Shavasana for about, let's see how much time we have, about 2 to 3 minutes. Shavasana, also known as corpse pose, is the ultimate in passivity. Just doing a scan of the body, making sure there's no gripping or tension, and truly allowing for complete relaxation. Being mindful of the small muscles around your face, around your eyes and mouth, softening, smoothing. Sinking in. Bringing small movements into your fingers and toes. Knees coming in towards the chest, rocking onto the right side of your body. And with as little effort as possible, pressing yourself up into your original seated position. And we'll just take a moment to notice the quality of breath and energy. the softening effect of our practice. Bringing hands to your heart. Thank you so much for being here, practicing with me and the people who are virtually with us. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your weekend. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone, especially the people who stayed till the end. we started out with like 7 and then we dropped down to 4, but I think maybe some people, the 90 minutes might be a little bit long, but I am going to keep the 90-minute format. And again, I'm totally fine if people need to duck out early. Obviously, it's not like disruptive. But thank you so much. If you have any other questions, any requests for poses that you would like to do, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks, Jen. Otherwise, I'll see you for this class next week. However, I will be teaching the full body strength class tomorrow at 9. So same place. 9 o'clock, we'll be doing a full body strength. We'll do like a core cardio finisher. So definitely come to that. Bit of a different energy vibe there. But it's important to be able, variety is the spice of life, right? Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of the night.